Hello and welcome to this introduction to O3DE PopcornFX Gem workflow workshop. I'm Paul and I'm graphics developer at PopcornFX. So in this workshop we will first recall what PopcornFX is, then we will do a gem quick start showing you how to install the gem and how to have a basic effect load into an O3DE scene. And then we'll go over the few ways we have to create interactions between an effect and the engine others components. So PopcornFX is a VFX middleware. It's made of two main parts. One is the editor, which is a standalone application used by artists to create effects using a node-based workflow. It also has its own viewport, and the other part are the integrations. So in our case, the O3DE Gem, which loads those effects into the engine. Okay, so let's go. I have already an O3DE project set up, an empty one set up as described in the O3DE doc. First, we have to get the gem, so you can have it from the PopcornFX website or from this public GitHub. I already have it, so I won't download it here again. So the first step is to extract the gem anywhere. My gem's here. I will extract it in O3DE Gem folder. Okay, once this is done, we have to register the gem using this script that can be found in the O3DE directory. So I'm using the installed version, but if you've built the engine inside the repository, it should be the same. So let's replace gem path and project path. Nice. Now I can run the project manager to activate the gem. And build the project. So this page also states that I have to patch my project. So this is not mandatory for the gem to work, but it will add an extra custom post-processing effect for distortion particles. So here and we're good. Once my project is built, I run it. Okay, inside O3DE, we can create a new entity to check if the gem is properly loaded. We add a PopcornFX emitter component, and it seems to be working. So the thing now is that we don't have any particles inside the project, so let's keep that here and open a PopcornFX editor. I'm using the 2.10 version. It's important that your editor version matches your gem version. I'm creating a new project and I'm putting it inside my O3DE project. Good. Setting the project preset to O3DE and OK. Okay, nice. Now I have my pack here. So before opening it, I'll go to the package library. So this is a menu where you can import packages, which are projects containing effects and other kind of assets inside your project. So I downloaded tutorial and samples, and I will both import those inside my newly created project. Good. Now we can run this. Okay. I will create a new effect using the FX simple template and call it fountain. Now inside O3DE, if I type fountain, I should be able to find this particle and to load it in my emitter. Nice. So I've got this running, which is nice. Put it back to 0. So now that we have this working, we'll try to do something a bit more complex. I will dive into this effect inside the Popcorn editor, and I'll try to create a position, a float 3, that will control the direction the particles are going to. So let's use an attractor node. This creates a force from a position and an attractor position. So basically I want my particle position here, using this node to force evaluating the position at evolve, because I don't want the initial position of the particle. So the attractor takes this position as input, and also an attractor position here, which I want to expose as an attribute. So attributes are exposed parameters in Popcorn. So those are the parameters that will be accessible inside the engine. So here I have a float 3 attribute showing here, and that's the one I just created here. So I will set its execution frequency, stage to evolve, and wire my attractor force into the acceleration of the physics node. I want this position to be at 1 by default. Nice. And also I want to make this force way stronger so we can see it. Okay, so right now my particles are attracted by this position, which is in fact an attribute and not an hard-coded position in the graph. Okay, let's tweak a bit more the physics simulation so we can see that. I'm adding some drag, and also, yeah, I'm making more particles so we can see it. Okay, nice. We can go back to O3DE, and now we can see the same behavior here, with the attribute showing in the entity inspector. And once again, I can tweak that here. Okay, not with that extreme values, but yeah, -1, the other direction. Nice. Okay, now we'll try to make something a bit more fancy. We'll create another entity, and we'll make this entity be the actual attractor. I will call this entity target. I will add a tag to it, because with this tag I can easily find this entity in the script canvas called target, and also a mesh render. Yeah, a sphere. Okay, nice. So this will be my attractor. Now, going back on the particle entity, I will add a script canvas. Oops. Takes too much. Okay, and call it attractor.scriptCanvas. So I want to set the position at runtime. So I'm using onTick. Okay, so the first thing is getting the target position. So get entities by tag with the tag target. Then first of this, get first element. Okay, then get word translation. So this should be here the position of target at runtime. Now I want to set the attribute here, this attribute here, the popcorn emitter attribute. So we have this set attribute nodes, and it's typed, so float 3, set attribute float 3, basically this here. So I'm setting the attribute from the translation, but to identify the attribute it takes a number here, an ID, so I need to have the attribute ID. So we have another node called get attribute ID, or get attribute ID here, that takes a string as input and outputs the ID. So my attribute name is attractor position. Okay, and that should be sufficient. Okay, not sure. Yeah, it works. It works. Nice. We can make it even more fancy. I will make my target child of the camera, and also I'll add a collider, a physics collider to this target. In Popcorn, I'll activate the collisions, and increase the number of bounce. Okay. Now if I hit play, I'm controlling the target with my view, and nice, it's colliding with particles. So basically this entity is attracting those particles, but then the mesh is colliding with it. So it creates this interesting effect. Let's try with some more particles. Nice, interesting patterns. Okay. So we've seen how we can control attributes. It's quite powerful. There is another type of attributes which I'd like to show you. Let's remove this effect. Okay, so I will add skinned mesh. So we have one in the pack we imported. It's called Popman. So assets are shared here between Popcorn and O3DE. Okay, so I'll add to my scene this actor with some motion. Here, oops. Nice, okay. In Popcorn, I will create another very basic effect. This one an empty one, and I will call it spawn on mesh. So I'm creating a very simple setup, spawning 700 particles per second infinitely. Yes. Okay, and the position of the particle will be set by shape sampling. So shape sample basically here takes a shape as input and outputs a random position on that shape. Okay. Now I have this very basic setup, and I will load this spawn on mesh. Nice. Okay, so this is my effect. What I would like to do is to have this set by the engine and not statically set here by the editor. So like for the position in the previous effect, this can also be exported as an attribute. Saving this. Now inside my effect, I can see in the attributes that I have this sampler attribute, and it needs an entity here. So going back on my mesh entity, my actor entity, I'm adding a PopcornFX shape sampler and picking skinned mesh, and going back to my emitter, I can stop it and pick here the entity, and it recognizes that this entity has this specific component that allows sampling it. And going back, here we have this shape here being replaced by this mesh. So this is a really powerful technique because this can be set to whatever runtime resources, mesh resources you have. And you can do much more than random sampling, but you can also get normals, get velocity, and a whole bunch of stuff that can be very interesting for the behavior of your particles. Okay. So, one thing maybe worth noting is that usually when you have effects like that, I mean like any effect, not like that actually, but when you have effects, you often have transformation nodes, local position to world, and this uses the entity that holds the emitter. It uses this entity's transform to transform the particles. So when you move the entity, you'll have the whole effect move with it. In the case of shape sampling like that, this sample here returns the absolute world position of the sample here. So basically, in my situation, I do not want to transform this here because my effect here can be anywhere. What I want is simply that what spawns on it, what spawns in this effect is on this mesh. Okay. Okay, the last thing was looking at is the TrackView. So we'll open one of our effects. Let's open Doctor Strange portal. Okay, nice. And I'm removing, at least I'm stopping this. Okay. So this effect already has a bunch of attributes exposed, like the radius. And this can be nice maybe to animate for a cinematic or something. That's something we can do. So we have to add a child entity to this. Okay, this entity 6. I'll call it TrackView attribute. And on this, I'll add a component PopcornFX TrackView attribute. And in this little drop down, I can select which attributes it represents from the effect that is held by the parent entity. So I want to change the radius. And now, if I go to the TrackView, and create a new sequence, I can add this node here. Add selected entity, and use this field here to set the value of the float with value float x to some specific value in time, and to put keyframes that will affect this specific attribute. So basically, maybe start at 0, then 1, then 0 again. Nice. If I play that, have this animation playing. So once again, you can build very complex and can build behavior with a lot of control using this, because there's no limit in what you can do with the attributes then inside of your graph. So it's quite powerful also. Okay, so I think that's all I wanted to show you for this video. So the idea was to show a bit not how to create complex effect, and sorry if you did not really get all the stuff I did inside the Popcorn editor, but this is only basic stuff I did, and this is stuff that gets covered in our online resources. So yeah, this was not the idea to create those effects and to see how you create those effects, but much more to see to show how the integration can interact with other components and with your gameplay. And even if it's a third party, you can totally create complex interaction and have all your components react to each other. We've seen also shortly the physics collision also, so it's also integrated with the physics collider, and the particles will react to physics objects also. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Be sure to contact us. You can join our Discord. We're also on the O3DE Discord. So feel free to reach us for any question. And yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye.